The thing is, it's the third straight loss for the Canadian women. And I think I was much more annoyed and hot coming out of it. Shopping for bathroom things makes you just calm down, apparently. But guys, welcome back to the Africans. We're going to talk about this. Normally, we would do this in our traditional way, where we do, match reaction, talk about what we saw, what we didn't see, different things of that. But I think we got to have another conversation. It's as if this year is just begging me to not analyze things and just say things. So, welcome to the African channel. We do primarily Canadian and African content. So if you like that, make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. Things happened today, which we haven't had a moment to cover, but we'll cover later this week. We have our 12 teams that are going for the WAFCON in 2026, which will be the World Cup qualifiers for the Women's FIFA World Cup in Africa. All 12 teams are decided. And we've lost two teams at the FIFA U17 Women's World Cup. Morocco and Nigeria both thrashed by their opponents. Only Zambia are left, and they're playing Canada on tomorrow or today, depending on when you're watching this, or yesterday, depending on when you're watching this. So I'm conflicted. Root for Canada, but go, little copper queens. But Canada, senior women's national team falling to the Netherlands 1-0 in another game where it wasn't the worst game, but it certainly wasn't. It didn't instill any confidence or just energy for the team moving forward. And what does that look like? And there's a couple of things which I think sound bites after the game, which were key things for me. But let's look at the lineup that we had here. For Canada, you had Sabrina D'Angelo starting in goal. She could do no wrong for me. If you watch the channel, you know why. Sabrina could do no wrong. She can do no wrong. Ashley Lawrence, Jade Rose, Shalene Zadorsky, Jade Riviere, your backline, Janine Becky, Julia Grosso, Emma Regan, Jesse Fleming in the middle, and then Jordan Heidema and Adriana Leon. Keep on putting Janine Becky here. It's Janine Sones. So I apologize, Janine. They went against the Netherlands, who were here playing, and it was the last game for Spitze. If I said her name wrong, I do apologize. But first half, just very lifeless. They couldn't really string passes together, which, I mean, if you were following this on any social medias, you know there was many a Canadian Woso fan who were very much upset. And it brought up a lot of questions in terms of what we could do. Once we got to the second half, we're just like, I was saying, do something. They lose the game. They have a few more opportunities in the second half. They score two goals that are offsides, though they felt very lifeless. Like even if they had drawn this game, I would still come here with the same energy because I'm just not liking the energy, the passion, for lack of better words, the heart. Um, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. Now, granted, this is a new team, new coach. And within a new coach, there's a different lens of evaluation. There's something that we have to talk about in terms of this group, and it is this group have not looked good since the US game. Since they stepped up the competition they were playing, they have not looked good. They have lost the last three games by a combined score of 5-0. And they've really not been in any of the games. After the US game, Casey Stoney said we need players who are in form and playing regularly for their club. You could argue the majority of this crew aren't in form or playing regularly for their club, but they're brought in. And it's a point that I'm starting to think about here, which is when we look at the last regime for Canada, right? Bev Priestman, I know we say those names and we think drones, shame of things. But the one thing that I think we sometimes overlook, one of my biggest compliments for her, but also ended up being a detriment for her, in my opinion, was because she came through Canada. She coached the U17, she coached the U20s. There was a familiarity she had with not only the system that we had here, but a lot of the players coming through. I think it worked because whenever players were getting, if you played youth, it felt as if you were there. If you go to my Instagram, there's a chart. I forgot to pull it up here, where it was a joking, tongue-in-cheek chart, but it was, hey, you want to play for the women's national team? Did you play youth for Canada? Yes, you're probably going to get called up at least one time. You didn't? Well, where are you playing? Are you playing in a deemed top tier one league? No? Well, then you gotta work harder. You gotta do like lead them in goals for like 4 years to prove you're really that good. If not, then you'll probably get called up one way or the other. And that was a reality of it. And I think one of the drawbacks of having a Casey Stoney is her viewpoint of this pool, which is another point we'll talk about, is very narrow. We as fans will look and say, well, look at these other players. Why not call this? I know this window is a very large window for why did we not get any DB Pridham here? We missed out on Olivia Smith. We missed out on Kaylee Hunter, who both had to leave injured. But you just don't see much coming through, which makes you a little bit concerned because Stoney has experienced WSL as well as the NWSL. And without this turning into fully we need to free Evelyn Vienne, which she has to be again, I think that's the lens that we're going to look at this team through. I think the clear tier always consideration is NWSL or WSL. If you're in one of those two leagues, I mean, look at the starting 11 for Canada, right? Leon, NWSL, Heidema, NWSL, Sonis, NWSL, Grosso, NWSL, Regan, the only NSL, NWSL Fleming, League Diarcanas for Ashley Lawrence, WSL, 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 WSL. But Lawrence used to play in the WSL. The entire starting lineup are either playing in, for the most part, playing in England or the US, with two exceptions, and one of those used to play in. If that's the, and I was thinking about that because I was looking at the range, and I almost have to bring up this point here, which got brought up here. Is it a matter of the personnel needs to change, or is it just better connected? I think there's an element of both, to be honest. But who am I changing the personnel to? The players pool is too small. If we're looking at that narrow, that's a player pool. Unless you have an exceptional year in the NSL, or that was Kaylee Hunter, or unless you know are dominating the league, everything is running through Olivia Smith. Now, I have some concerns. We are nearly a year through. The good news is we're just about a year away from World Cup qualifier, games that matter. But we're a year through, and I'm not trying to compare them to the men, but within one window, we knew what Jesse Marsh was trying to establish. We are nearly a year through, and yes, there have been injuries. Yes, we haven't been able to have the whole team there, not let alone have them in form. But nearly a year in, we still don't have an idea what Stony Ball is, how she wants to play. We hear words, we hear sound bites, right? Possession with purpose, things like that. Well, they haven't been able to do that. The closest thing to strategy in this Netherlands game was playing the ball to a forward and hoping for a deflection to spring a counter and a break. That happened a few times, and again, still waiting for a goal. They haven't scored against, I guess, top 25 competition this year, if you want to count Switzerland. Yeah, they haven't scored against top 25 competition. They've scored against Mexico, who currently are 29. They've scored against Costa Rica, 42. They've scored against Haiti. But top 25 competition, and it's only top 25 because Switzerland's in this conversation. Oh, I'm sorry. They scored against China. My apologies. The Pinatar Cup. They did score against China. They have one goal. in this calendar year over a top 25 team. Scoring is going to be an issue. But also, I think stylistically, you can't rate some players more than others. That was one of the confusing things watching this game, wondering, look, Evelyn Vienne would suit a pressing system that you're trying to play. And this other player is good, but if you're going to play a pressing system, why aren't you starting Evelyn Vienne, a player who is also scoring goals well at a good league, is playing against some of the best teams in the world, in Champions League, in Europe? But if you're gonna play Jordan in the pressing system, you have to put her at the tip of the spear. You can't put her in the midfield because she's not a midfielder. And the more you put her there, that means now you're pushing Jesse Fleming up to press. Then you're pushing up Grosso up to press and Becky up to press. So then once you clear those lines, you don't have the midfield support. The ball just gets run through. Swiss cheese is insulted because it has more of a defensive hold than that. And again, this isn't a criticism on the player, but this is if you're trying to play this style of football where you're not going to have the ball and you're going to try to press and create these turnovers and breaks. Jordan, though, yes, in this game, created a lot of opportunities in the second half. She got on the end of a few crosses, wasn't able to get them on frame. But again, if you're trying to play this version of pressing, look at your personnel. And I think part of this is also frustration with me because I'm looking around, I see Sweden starting basically like a U22 team against Spain and saying, hey, we're going to figure this out. Yes, it's second leg, they were out. We might as well see what the kids can do. I'm seeing the US playing some young players against a top 22 team in Portugal, both losing and winning. And then for Canada, we're just throwing out the same 11, the same core group. And the worrisome part for me is if the pool is so shallow, this is it. It's up to this group to figure it out. That means they're waiting for Kadisha to be healthy. They're waiting for Vanessa Gilles to be healthy. But this is it. Oh, and then hoping that the young spark of Olivia Smith opens things up for them. Like, You, that worries me, especially in terms of right now their inability to really string passes together. If they can't do that, then everything is just hinging on getting the ball to one player and hoping that they can create because that's the best option we have. Which, no disrespect to the player's past, it just sounds like we're playing Sinclair ball all over again. And that's worrisome because surely we have more depth than that. Also, fun fact: if you want to take a look, I recorded a what a U21 and a U23 team would look like. See the links in the thing; it'll show up somewhere there. But I'm concerned because there are players. We're doing the thing again where we say we rate this league more, and because we rate this league more, we're going to play these players more, and we're missing out on players who all they're doing is the thing they're doing well, which is what you need. But because they're in a lower league, you're not even testing it. We're going to have basically a year, nearly 2 years of friendlies. And if all we do for those 2 years of friendlies is just play the same group over and over again and get the same results, what are we really learning? Then we're going to fall into the same habit of, oh, well, we can't add these new players now because we have important. The thing we do every time with Canadian soccer, the now is not the time isms. Then it'll never be. We might as well just say this is the group. You know, we're never going to play you in 2030 when the Hunters, the Chukwus, the Maloofs, we hope, the Smiths are ready. Are we still going to say no? We have to play these other players because we need to make sure they have the cohesion. It's been a year with a lot of these players, and the second we've played tougher competition, it's not even a matter of folded. They've not even looked like they've been in the game. I might as well just bring up a bunch of U17 players and see what happens. At least I'll learn if they're up to the level. I'd rather, and that's the frustrating. Like I'd rather say, hey, give a in this game. I'd rather give a half to Hollywood. Say, hey, this is the toughest team you've played. Let's see how you react to this. I don't need to see again. I don't need to see Nichelle Prince in this situation because I've seen her against top competition. We know what the level is. We don't know what the wild cards are. The worry and the fear for me is that this is going to turn into, I'm sorry, 2023 is really what I mean. Where we head into a World Cup, we're only relying on 16 people because we're concerned over the cohesiveness of the 16. Four are injured and can't even play a full amount, which then begs the question, why do we bring them anyways? It's the fear of repeating those same mistakes. If it was me for Japan, I tweeted this, take the database out, find every U25 player you can, take the best 26, balance the roster, see what they can do against a Japan team if they can suffer and defend. Casey Stoney said against Japan, they're going to have to suffer well and to try to get results because they're going to hold the possession. If that's what you're going to do, I'd rather see what other players can do and be dynamic because we've seen this group already. And it's not because I want the new shiny toy, but this team has had a year and maybe they've been off this year, sure. But that's taken away the opportunity to really let things loose. We have seen promising players come through. The Kayla Briggs of the world, right? We've seen her contribute. We've seen Holly Ward contribute. Jade Rivera is still young. Jade Rose is still young. You still have defensive stalwarts coming back from injury like Vanessa Gilles, Kadisha Buchanan. I put those three in, you have your back three. I pray they play a back three. Gabby Carl's still in good form. The midfielders, we'll see what they decide to do with that. But there's still potential with this, but it needs life. The scariest thing was when they played the US and I saw players at the U20 level that I remember from the U20s, the Michelle Coopers, Alyssa Thompson, Hutton. I remember watching them at U17s and U20s. They came up and they were part of a group that was running through, past, around this core of Canadian. And the scary part about that is Emma Hayes is going to have time to integrate those players in with the Lily Johannes's, then say, hey, let me throw a Trinity Rodman in with that. Let me see, a Mallory Swanson can still contribute here. She's going to have that time to put all that together. I don't, meanwhile, in Canada, running the same 11, the same 14 players who've been together, yes, they won a gold in 2021. It's 2025 now. There's nothing else to show for it. The core of that group went to a World Cup, got grouped. They then went to the Olympics and, yes, played with heart and played with passion, but also have nothing to show for it. We can't wait for finishing a time. We can't wait for the right time because the right time will never come. We need to give some of those players, we need to give opportunities and realistically send messages. That's what I would hope would happen. What it feels like will happen is we're just going to be here. Evelyn Vienne has scored in Champions League against high ranking teams and has been playing well for years, but won't get a sniff probably because she plays in the Italian league and isn't rated by the coach. We know this, right? And Stoney saying the pool is small says the thing out loud, which is she says the thing by not saying the thing, i.e., these leagues I rate, these are the leagues I don't. That's just a bit of the reality. I thought we were free from Gabby Carl having to switch her whole career to get noticed, even though she was playing well. Can they turn around? Yes. It's a year out. But they better start switching things because right now, this group can qualify for a World Cup. They'll struggle this round because no one is that. Can they qualify for World Cup? I think they can. Will they do something at the World Cup? I don't know if I can trust it. The top 32 teams in the women's ranking as of this afternoon, the worst team is New Zealand. We've lost to Argentina. Yes, rotation. We beat Mexico, but Mexico gave us more fits than we want to admit. Yes, it was a rough game, but Mexico made us work more than we want to realize and want to admit. Switzerland, we weren't in that game. Look at the rest of the teams that are there. South Korea, they would probably beat us right now. Maybe Belgium would. Colombia, Iceland, China, Australia, Denmark, Norway, Italy. Like, you hearing these names? And that's if we just go in order. I am concerned. Am I putting up the bat signal for we need help? I'm walking up the stairs. For the players who were selected, like they've really got to turn it in and tune it in well. Because if not, it doesn't seem like the coach is going to try to uncover any stones and find things. Sydney Collins came in. We didn't see a minute of her. And then that's the disappointment, right? And I said that earlier. If we're going to lose, I might as well learn something versus running this out again. And that's where I'm disappointed because we didn't learn anything. We saw a team that couldn't function cohesively, not function cohesively for 2 games. Whether we changed the goalie, whether we swapped out a couple players here or there. The other disappointing thing is you want to make wholesale changes. Where are you going to make wholesale changes on this roster? The 2 most exciting things you were excited to see had to leave early. I'm worried. The frustration here isn't my worry because it's been a year and we haven't seen any steps towards anything. And it's a concern because it feels like everywhere else, women are performing for Canada. Right? The U17s are about to play in this round of 16 at their level. The futsal team are going to the World Cup. The U20s won the CONCACAF championships and are heading to the World Cup next year. There have been just monumental moments for the women in Canada on the pitch. But the senior team just is there. And I'm a little bit concerned. You guys let me know what you think. Normally, this would have been a bit of a recap. Player of this game, just so that we do talk about it. Jade Riviere, I think, is showing why she was ranked one of the highest defenders in the WSL. She's showing well. I'm really happy with her. This was one of the most snake-bitten windows for a player. Janine Sonis literally could not hit. She hit everything but the net. You like the chance creation, but at some point you need her to bury a chance. Strikers didn't get much out of it. The midfield, non-existent. The defense, the first goal to an extent, Zadorsky steps back a little bit too far and she plays on the player who scores for the Netherlands. Otherwise, she was fine. Right? Wilms, she plays her on because she's a little bit too deep on the lineup. Again, we'll have to look and wait and see for them to be healthy. Maybe we get some good news against Japan, but that game again will be a defending game. We'll wait and see. But guys, you let me know what you're thinking as always.